not feeling 100%. Had a bit of a rough morning in that way, health wise. Again, I don't think I'm actually really ill. I just things are catching up with me. And then I got here, and boom! Right when I opened, people started crowding in. People were coming in. Blah 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 blah. So uh, I let them. I let people shop. I didn't. I really had wanted to jump on the live stream right around noon and show off the books right away, but there were people in and out for at least the first 2 hours. Um, After that, I started getting all of tomorrow's new single issue books ready. Some great new stuff tomorrow. We got a bunch of horror anthologies launching from really good companies. um, just good stuff. But there's really good stuff out today as well. So we're going to look at that. As I said, still, hey, Mark, still not 100% on my health. I think the air pressure changing all the time combined with whatever is giving me this post-nasal drip together have made me feel a little bit more yeah, I don't know if it's like one of these summer colds or more of just a million things piling up together, but definitely not still 100% health-wise. But some really great books out today that I wanted to look at, and again, I had to do all the work to get all the new books out for tomorrow, all the single issues, so I had to come here anyway. So let's look at what we've got new. And thanks, dude. I think I'm gonna start feeling better pretty soon. Every day I feel a little bit better, and then every morning I wake up and I'm a little bit like, oh, what? All right, we got Mish the Bad Demon, Volume 2, The Secret of the Fang. It's a really fun book. I read the first one, and I was waiting for there to be a reveal in the end of issue 1 that he's not actually a demon or whatever the reveal would have been that they were leading to, and they really left it hanging. The character got some character resolution, but next book, The Major by Mobius. This is the first new book in the Mobius library in almost 2 years. Let's unwrap one. The Major actually came out in the U.S. In 2020 in French. A company released the French version, which meant that Dark Horse didn't have the rights to it because Dark Horse just has the rights to the translated editions. But The Major is a tremendously surreal Mobius book, part of his later career, where he simplified, allowing himself to do much more complicated and intense stories. Really great stuff. This is the first thing I sold today. The first thing out the door, Keanu Reeves and China Melville's The Book of Elsewhere. China Melville, of course, a fantastic science fiction writer. For decades, Keanu Reeves, of course, very famous actor. Let's talk about this for a second because I think this is something that I've discussed on the live stream. It's actually been a famous live stream. If you're watching now, Joe, Mark, you might even remember when we had Famous McFamous. That was the name of a live stream that we did 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I got a phone call from the then president of Boom Studios, Ross Ritchie. Now, Ross Ritchie and I are not personal buddies. We're not friends. I don't go to comic conventions and glad hand and talk to. I don't go to comic conventions. I don't like large crowds. So I don't know all the people behind the scenes in comic shops. A lot of people who run comic shops will be at San Diego this weekend. They go to their local big conventions. Like I could go to New York Comic Con, and they know the people. At least the people who talk to retailers. They know them face to face. They hang out with them. Not me. I'm not a hanger-outer. I got an email saying Ross Ritchie would like to call you. He has a project he wants to talk about, specifically with you. Sure. He wants to specifically talk to me and 50 other retailers, right? No. I got an answer from the person saying, look, Ross said he wants to talk to you. He named you specifically, and he wants to have a phone conversation with you. Again, if you go back on our Facebook live stream, you can hear I set a bunch of conditions to it. It's a whole long story. I don't want to get into it now because we still have another 15 books to look at. But basically, he was calling me to pick my brain about the Berserker Kickstarter because the Berserker Kickstarter, the Keanu Reeves Kickstarter for the Berserker comics, Ross knew this was going to upset comic owners, comic shop owners, comic collectors because they were selling the comic directly. Now again, Boom, Magnetic, Image, tons of companies now do Kickstarters for special projects. He wanted to tell me, well, look, the single issues are going to be available only in shops. What people are backing in the Kickstarter are the hardcover, are the trade paperbacks. You could get them even hardcover in the Kickstarter, and that's why I wanted to speak to you, because you run a graphic novel store. You have books, and I want to know how you're going to feel about the project. And I said, look, you kickstarting something is not going to make me not get it. You using Keanu Reeves' interest in making a graphic novel and doing this, that's cool. That's great, man. I'm not going to back this. I'm not going to push this. I'm not going to support this unless you can tell me right in your face that Keanu Reeves is going to tell people on Fallon, on Seth, whatever his name is, on any of these late night shows, or on The View, or Regis, or whatever. I don't know what was around then. And he's going to say, comics are awesome, and everyone should be reading comic books. Or if he's going to say, you can get the Berserker comic single issues from your local comic shop. Unless Keanu is going to go and give a shout out to local stores, I really wasn't interested. And here's the funny part. I have had a huge insight into Berserk. I've been reading Berserk. I read a bunch of the first issues when it came out. Since then, they've put out Old Guard. I would say Old Guard is definitely more thought out. I'm gonna get to what Berserker's really about in a second, because I think what Berserker's really about is fascinating, and it's why I'm very interested to read the novel. Berserker has come out as a comic series, 12 issues, and it had a bunch of one-shots. Those one-shots are drawn by some amazing people. It shows you that the Berserker, that the main character, is responsible for the fall of Atlantis, many other awesome things, drawn awesomely, stories told really well. But what's fascinating is that the Berserker comic that started it all is about, do I still have it? No. Is about the fact that the government is using this Highlander. This guy has a Highlander, but he can't die. He never dies. And he's being used by our government. If you read backwards, if you go and see all this, Atlantis, there's a new one coming out tomorrow that's a Western. Almost every single story of Berserker, of this dude, almost every single story that Keanu Reeves has written or co-written about this immensely talented warrior who can't die, is about him being taken advantage of, him being used. His massive talent being used by people who claim to have his interests in heart, claim to care about him, claim to want what he wants, but in the end, they always end up betraying and lying to him. This is written. The whole concept of Berserker comes from Keanu Reeves, one of the most private actors in our current megastar sphere. Someone who doesn't like sharing about his life, who doesn't go and do lots of extra projects just to get publicity. He does things to raise charity, and he does things to promote his projects, and that's it. When he talks about films that he's worked on, he always talks about the people and the art of it. He does not want to talk about how much money something made, how big something was. I just saw an interview for this book, for the Book of Elsewhere, where he was talking about The Matrix, and he was trying not to say what an unpleasant experience it was for him, because it had such a big impact on so many people's lives. People loved it, but clearly he didn't enjoy working on it. Keanu Reeves is writing a comic about what it is to be Keanu Reeves, what it is to be an actor with an ability, with a talent, and being used, being taken advantage of. That is what the Berserker books are about. That is what I think China Melville hits on in this Book of Elsewhere. The Book of Elsewhere is very much a novel about moving through time, thousands and thousands of years. It's also not the only novel that we have today. We also have Randy Ribe's The Reckoning of Roku. Wow, try saying that 10 times fast. Randy Ribe's The Reckoning of Roku. This is the third? No, this is the fourth of the Avatar books, right? Do they have an ad in the back for Kyoshi and Yang Chen, so it's the fifth. Kyoshi and Yang Chen were both written by the great F.C. Yee. I don't know Randy Ribe, but this is a novel, again, where we see the life of an Avatar who, before Aang, before Korra. Really interested, again, really excited to read that. Allie, a new collection of Junji Ito short stories. We have the Scary Alley, which is the main novella, the main story in here, and then I think 10 other tales. So Alley must be pretty short. This is actually one of the thicker Ito books. I actually also just made a giant Junji Ito restock we should be getting in the next couple weeks. Search and Destroy. This is Satoshi Kaneko's retelling of Dororo. Dororo is one of Tezuka's later series. It's one of his more pessimistic, dark series about, it's really about capitalism. But it's about the use of your body and the use of, again, very similar to Berserk, being taken advantage of. Satoshi Kaneko has done a modern cyberpunk take on it, and it's finally coming out here in English. The final volume of Dungeon Meshi, Delicious in Dungeon, Berkukoyo, very popular. Yes, also a Metallica song, dude. Very popular thanks to the anime that just came out. Had a bunch of people at it, so we've only got one copy on the shelf. Kind of a Wolf, a single volume BL. The latest of the Sailor Moon collections of this nice small size of Sailor Moon. Latest volume of Stone Ocean, volume 5. Soul Eater Not! The perfect edition. Soul Eater, of course, Atoshi Iboko's famous graphic novel about Grim Reapers, manga series about Grim Reapers, had a humor spin-off, Soul Eater Not, which is also getting the nice hardcover perfect editions. The Soul Eater perfect editions are yellow spined, Not are going to be pink spined. Gachiketa, a wonderful action manga that's coming out very quickly, one every month. They're up to volume 3 now. Thunderbolts, Acceptable Loss. Now, we'll get back to Thunderbolts in a second. The Book of Bill. This is Alex Hirsch's follow-up to the Gravity Falls secret novels, secret notebooks. It has all sorts of secrets and ideas from Gravity Falls, things that have been left open, but it's a little bit weirder, a little bit darker. It's for older audiences. He had said originally that there is a Book of Bill, there is a whole book that explains everything that happened in Gravity Falls, but he doesn't want kids reading it, so he wants to give it enough years so that kids can grow up. And I guess he's decided it's enough years. My children were thrilled. My 15-year-old was thrilled for this. She's looking over with her brother very carefully. Witcher, Wild Animals, latest adaptation of the original Witcher novels into a great graphic novel. Are You Afraid of the Dark, number 2. These are the all-new Are You Afraid of the Dark numbers. I guess this is my third novel out today. So we got 3 novels and the novel adaptation. Frank Herbert's Dune. This is the third Dune. We've got volume 1 here, volume 2, and volume 3. All 3 make up the complete Dune. Hey, how's it going? Last but not least, I'm alright just showing off the new books to the live stream. This is by my friend Gabe Fowler. Gabe Fowler runs the amazing comic shop Desert Island in Brooklyn, which focuses on self-published and art zines. During the pandemic, 4 years ago, Gabe said, let's make a record of what's going on. Let's make comics about what it feels like in this very moment. But let's make them hopeful. Let's talk about what things will be like in the future. And he made these wonderful 9-panel comics that he collected and put online and then made into a little newspaper. But he got so many submissions that he couldn't stop. And so eventually, with the help of Pantheon, he put out this gorgeous book. Rescue Party, now available. The great Hilary Shute does a forward. Definitely worth your time and effort. Last little conversation about Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts are a fascinating concept within Marvel continuity. This Thunderbolts is similar to the Thunderbolts that you're going to be seeing in the movies mentioned in this new Captain America, etc., etc. But the original Thunderbolts comic came out in the 90s. And the original 90s Thunderbolt comics, bad guys were pretending to be superheroes. That was what the whole concept was. About 5 issues in, you learned that all the heroes in it were actually former bad guys being superheroes. It was very, very popular in the mid-90s. A lot of it was about Baron Zemo, the really bad guy, not becoming good, but most of the others sort of shifting to being good guys, to being nicer, because people like it. People are nice to them. It was very Kurt Busiek, very thoughtful. Thank you. Thunderbolts didn't really do well after that. Once the Busiek run ended, even though Busek wasn't ready. Once that run ended, it really sat and did nothing until Marvel had the idea of making them basically a government wet works thing. Take criminals, people who owe the government, who owe because of what they did, and send them on dangerous missions. So supervillains and superheroes mixed together, and that Thunderbolts really took off and became popular and sort of became what people think of when they think of Thunderbolts. It ran for many years. It was popular at the same time as Rick Remender's X-Force, which was also an idea of bad mutants being used by the government to do things. That's where we're at now, cynically, going full circle back to what we were talking about Keanu Reeves and Berserker. That's a much more popular concept and story than bad people realizing that a lot of their quote-unquote badness comes from how people react to them, which is the original Thunderbolts, and quite lovely. Beyond that, like I said, we've got tons of new stuff out tomorrow, including the new Ninja Turtles. Jason Aaron takes over Ninja Turtles, new #1. I'm wearing a mask because I'm sick and there's people in the store. That's why. Besides for the new Ninja Turtles, there's also the final issue of the Wolverine Deadpool 3-issue series that's been coming out. A whole bunch of other stuff. The second part of the Wolverine Deadpool backup story. 10 other #1s. And even a reprint of Wolverine 88, the first time Wolverine and Deadpool actually fought. So definitely come back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be doing that closer to noon and 1. Thank you. I hope I get better too. It's been on and off for a week. Tomorrow we're going to look at the new single issues. We're going to talk about those for a little while. But what I would also like to talk about is the current comic book market, because I'm not up for it today. Like I said, I don't feel 100%. Hopefully I'll feel better. I'm going through catalogs and I'm looking at all the stuff coming out, and while I am cutting my numbers, all the publishers are going. HarperCollins has just announced they're expanding their graphic novel line. Boom, which we just talked about. I got that call from President Ross Ritchie of Boom. Ross Ritchie just sold them to Penguin Random House. So things are just growing in comics, and buyership is shrinking in stores. All right, I got to get that. Until next time, remember, damn it, babies, got to be kind. Escape Pod Comics.